It's a quick video showing the inner workings of the arcade cabinet that I'm building. You can see it's a modified cocktail style with a flat screen, so it's somewhat portable. On the back panel, you'll see the power supply with an external switch that I mounted, along with the power plug, obviously. And then next to that, you've got a couple of push buttons. These are wired to the monitor control panel inside so that I can control the monitor's volume. And then beneath that I have the motherboard serial port so that I can connect peripherals through the serial if I need to, Ethernet, and then an S-video port which goes right from the motherboard to this back panel, so you should be able to display on the big screen. There's 4 administrative control push buttons as well as a DVD drive for loading movies or software. To open the box, there is a hidden switch mechanism that I've set up with a tiny hole. You can take a pen, I think I'm using a pencil in this case, and you push that up through the hole, and that releases a couple of latches on the main screen hinge, and you should be able to open up that screen after that. Inside the box, everything's pretty tightly packed. We're powered by this Intel motherboard, which is a mini-ITX based on the Atom 330 dual-core 1.6 gigahertz. I've added 2 gigabytes of RAM. It's just a great, inexpensive board with a really small form factor. And then up here, of course, is a power supply, the power supply for the monitor. And I wired an external style power plug to my power supply unit so that I can run this little jumper and power my monitor without the need to have another cord going to the receptacle. And over here, we have the optical drive used to load software, and above that, a couple of push button switches wired for administration control of the emulator. And down here is my hard drive. That's mounted upside down so I could get the cables oriented properly. And attached to one of the threaded mounting holes on the underside of the hard drive is this module here. This is the wireless receiver for my USB keyboard. Actually, keyboard and mouse combo. It's a great little portable keyboard, good for administrative loading of software and so on, but doesn't really get used when you're playing games. And finally, I populated the PCI slot on the motherboard with this wireless card, so I have access to Wi-Fi networking. Now I'll open the control panels. These access holes here allow me to put my fingers on some latches, and once you release the latches, you can swing open the hinged control panels for the players 3 and 4. And with both panels open, I can reach through additional access holes to unlatch the main control panel. All of the push buttons on top of the panel, as well as the insert coin buttons on the front and sides, are wired to this board for LED lighting with dramatic effect. The board is just my way of organizing all of the current limiting resistors in one place with a power switch, and it gets 5 volts of power from my power supply unit and isn't really anything fancy. And I wired all of my push buttons and joysticks to the Ultimark iPac 4 to handle all of the inputs. With the exception of my spinners, these are Groovy Game Gear's Turbo Twist 2 spinners. They come with their own interface board, one's set to master, the other to slave, and this little board allows my spinners to connect to the main board via USB. The monitor I'm using is a Samsung 15-inch LCD. I had to move the control panel over to the side, and it's actually mounted upside down in this cabinet. The monitor's built-in speakers are still being used here. They're just zip-tied to the back of the frame. And then I soldered a couple of wires to the switches on this controller board so that I could run external buttons for volume control of these speakers. Let's drink the potion.